All right. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Random Q Watch. But this episode, nothing is random, everything is planned out. So before I get into the discussion today, make sure you subscribe, check out some of the past videos on the playlist on YouTube, or we on Spotify now. You can just check out the podcast there. So, past episodes, we talked about them, me and my homegirl, Miss Baba. Um, and I'm going to be uploading an episode discussing why Godfather of Harlem is one of the best series out right now and why I love the show so much. But on today's show, we will discuss, we'll have a preview of Loki, which is coming out in a few days. We want to discuss All the Girls, a Netflix movie that came out. Again, this is random Q watch, so the premise is to pick random stuff in the queue. Don't really know too much about, and just watch it. So this week I was able to watch All the Girls. I'll give you my opinion on that. Is it worth watching? Should you skip this and go to something else in your queue? Find out. But where I want to start off is The Shy, season 4. Now, we about 4 episodes deep in this right now, and I love the first 2 seasons of the show. The Shy was one of my favorite shows on television. But season 3 took a dramatic dip. If you're curious, is in the playlist for Say What I Mean. But yeah, season 3, it it fell off dramatically, in my opinion. One of the reasons is the main character, Brandon, was no longer on the show. We know the real life actor. Was some controversy there. Also, Tiffany Boone character was written off the show. So Brandon was the main character. So, in my opinion, season 3 suffered for not having a definitive main character. Some people will say it's Emmett, some people say it was Kevin, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't anybody that I had the connection that I had with Brandon with. Brandon, I won't say he made the show, but he was the most interesting character. Um, his struggle was documented the first 2 seasons, and he was the main character I was invested in. So, in my opinion, they would have been better off just recasting the character rather than write him off. And if you was going to write him off, you had to have more of a better storyline than they had last season. It was kind of all over the place. And I think some of the storylines they never even wrapped up. Like, for one, you had Emmett taking over Sunny's shop. When last time we saw Emmett and Sunny together, Sunny was saying how he never wanted to see him again and basically calling Emmett irresponsible. So how did Emmett end up with the shop? They said Sunny had some tax troubles and he basically scooped it up. But Sunny was just looking to expand to another location. So I never really understood that storyline to me. It was a little messy. It was a little choppy. Also, just the way they killed off Brandon was a little messy, a little choppy. For to be such a main character, and we don't know definitively who killed him or exactly what happened to him, how he died. It's a little messy. Didn't wasn't really feeling that either. So I wanted to see if this season will go back to the first 2 seasons of intrigue, or was it going to stay more in the line of season 3? So far, it's not as good as the first 2 seasons, but it is better than season 3 so far. A lot better. And let's get into some of this. And for this point on, is going to be some spoilers. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers, skip this discussion and just go to my All the Girls discussion, which I will talk about next. And for that, I will get no spoilers. But okay, so what's going on right now? The way I like to start with characters. So let's start with Kevin. First thing I noticed this season, off the rip. It seemed like him and Gemma is having sex regularly now. And I could tell that I'm getting old, right? This is the first thing I noticed about the show. I'm like, man, I'm getting old. I'm in my late 30s now. And it wasn't too long ago where I saw younger people kissing and I wouldn't think too much of it. But now, like them being so young and seeing them kissing or seeing them in the bed, it's cringe for me. I could just tell that's because I'm getting old, man. I'm becoming an old head. Like whenever if I see teenagers kiss, I'm just like, they so young. I really don't want to see it. But that's I guess I have to embrace my old head status now. But anyway, um, his character so far this season, and this is a continuation from season 3, is not really likable. He's a real brat. you know, he's a real brat, but I understand what they're trying to do. He's a brat because, he's a adolescent teenager that have went through a lot of trauma from seeing someone shot to losing people to having his sister kidnapped, just a bunch of different stuff no kid should have to see at this age. Unfortunately, a lot of kids do grow up like this and do get exposed to stuff they're not supposed to see at an early age. So that's just unfortunate. But still, even with that, he's still just being a real brat right now. The way he's talking to his mother, it's just crazy. I don't think I would have ever been able to talk to my mother as disrespectfully as he talked to his mother. His reaction to when Keisha came back last season too, I wasn't feeling that last season. Like you were so worried about her going to trap houses and putting yourself in danger, but when she came back, you wasn't supportive at all. I understand being so young, but I would hope in real life no sibling would actually act like that. So we'll see. We'll see. He's getting drunk. He doesn't seem to care about anything. Him and Gemma is starting to grow apart. And, they've been teasing Gemma and Jake doing something or becoming closer ever since last season. So that's something to watch out for and how he's going to take that. It seemed like you already noticed Gemma touching his hand when they did the interview, discussing the situation that happened with the police. So speaking of that, when Kevin and Jake got stopped by the police officer in episode 3, what do you think the correct action that Jake and Kevin should have took? Because this is a discussion that, unfortunately, Black men have to have all the time. Or I shouldn't say that. Let me rephrase that Black people have to have with their children. And really, not just with their children, we need to have it amongst ourselves, period. Whether you're a Black man or a Black woman, but especially young Black men, these discussions need to be had. So you saw Kevin and Jake into a argument when Jake told Kevin, "You should have had my back," and Kevin was just like, if you would have just got on the ground like I got on the ground, this wouldn't happen. Now, let's make one thing clear. That was a corrupt cop. Not only should he been fired, he need to be charged with assault and go to prison. That's what should have happened to that cop. But what was the correct action that they could have taken? And it's so hard because when the police do the wrong thing, right, off the bat, it's hard to tell somebody how to react. But we have to have these discussions. And I always say, live to fight another day, right? At the time, comply, get out the situation, comply the best you can, get out the situation, and try to follow up later. You know, don't put your life in danger, especially if you're a young teen. You know, hopefully the people around you have it on video, and hopefully it will discourage the police officers from taking it further, even though that always don't work. We've seen countless times how the police take it further, even when there's cameras around. But you know, do what you can in that situation, especially if you are a teenager. And again, let's live to fight another day. You know, that's my take on it. But I also understand it can't be too mad at Jake, because when you get targeted for no reason, it does do something to you, especially when you're young. You definitely want to fight back. I've been in situations where I felt that I was targeted by the police. And, you know, I'm a person that live a square life. I don't do any dirt. I mind my business. I work, pay my bills. And there was situations, especially when I was younger, where I still got targeted, you know, and it's infuriating. But unfortunately, this is something that Black men have to go through. So I do like that this season that they are discussing this, because it's a big topic, and it's been a big topic. So that's one point, right? And we'll see what happens going forward. We saw Trig get involved, Trig and Amarni. Um, Trig Trig pistol whipped the cop into a different dimension, and you know that's what's up. I'm not mad at that at all. But you also seeing um, Trig getting more involved in the community, and I get to that in a second. But before I get to that, moving on from Kevin, let's go on to his sister Keisha, right? So the big thing with Keisha is that she's not having an abortion. We saw that from last season. She's going to keep the baby, even though her kidnapper slash rapist is is the father of the child who was killed last season. Um, Difficult choice, man. Like it is really up to her. You can't tell any woman in that situation what to do. She choosing to keep the child, even though the pregnancy happened in more than unfortunate situations. Now, she trying to find a family, and the first family she found, you know, it seemed like they was arguing all the time. Couldn't find out they having a divorce. What I think gonna happen with Keisha, I think Keisha is going to end up keeping the child herself, not giving the child away. That's what I see happening in that situation. So let's get to Duda, who is now the mayor of Chicago. And, you know, he's making moves right now. Once Jake got harassed and assaulted by that police officer, he was getting grief from Trig that, you know, he needed to do something about the situation. And what happened was that when he went to visit Jake in the hospital, they had him cuffed up to the bed. And they had him cuffed until Duda came through and pulled rank and regulated. Now, he did what he like. I like a lot of the moves he's making. But you know, he needs to plan a little bit better. You know, I think he used to just running stuff and just calling shots, and people do whatever it is that he say. But when you're in politics, there's going to be a lot of pushback. And you see at the first episode, they already previewed him getting shot. So I'll get to that a little bit later too, and who I think actually going to pull the trigger. He decided to defund the police as a reaction, which, you know, is good. But the way that the show's telling the story, it's a little bit confusing because it seems like they going beyond defund the police. It seems like they are disbanding the police, because defunding the police doesn't mean that the police won't have any type of budget. What it means is that some of the money that's going to police officers or police units should be allocated to different organizations in order to respond to certain situations that police officers is called to. For example, mental health. Instead of having police officers respond to a mental health crisis, you have maybe a crisis service organization, a social worker, a counselor respond. You know, that's one of the main premise of defunding the police. That doesn't mean that it won't be police officers, period. Now, disbanding the police is something different. When basically that's what it means, disbanding the whole department, but and maybe rehiring them back on a case by case basis. So I don't know. I think he's going a little bit beyond defund the police in this situation, which is interesting. The way it's playing out. You also see he's now messing with Tracy, and see, like, dude, his wife got a open relationship, but his wife also a part of his administration. So there could be a number of different people who out to get him, because the way they make it a season, and again, Duda's going to get shot at some point. So he creating a lot of enemies. So who do I think shot him? It could be the police. It could be, obviously police is not happy with him for the public statements and also allocating funds away from their unit. But who else could it be? I mean, it could be Jim's father, who he been talking to kind of crazy and so worried about the Olympics coming. And like Tracy said, people don't care about that. They worry about surviving. It could be his wife, who doesn't seem to be that happy with him, even though, it was interesting because when she's cool with him being with Tracy, I would love, who I would love the shooter be? I would love the shooter to be Brandon. But, that's a pipe dream. That's probably not going to be it. Or if they bring Tiffany Boone character back, it is her. But again, that's probably not going to happen. So my bet at this time, I'm just throwing darts out there. Just throwing it. I think the shooter actually going to be Tracy. I think they're going to fall out somehow. Maybe when he get pressure put on him, he'll have to pull funding from her organization. And my bet is on her. That's just a guess. So y'all tell me, who do y'all think is going to be the trigger person? Now, speaking of triggers, let's go to Trig. That was whack. I tried. Sometimes you hit them. Sometimes, you clink it. It is what it is. Anyway, Trig, right? I guess they try and make him a community leader, which is cool. I guess, conscious gangster, whatever, I already mentioned how he pistol whipped the police officer that assaulted Jake, but he's working with Tracy in her organization, which they try to police themselves, try to do real community policing without police officers at all. So instead of calling 911, they'll call that organization. They respond. You saw they responded to kind of domestic situation. I don't know if it was domestic violence because I didn't see homie put his hands on her, but they were just arguing real loud. You saw how that go. Trig came. He was with big man that been down since the beginning. That was Reg, man. You know, as backup, along with Tracy, separated them, and they got dude to go somewhere else. Even though Trig had to take like a right, but it was all good. They handled that situation. Um, we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that situation, how far they could go with that before there's some backlash. But so far so good with that. Um, but that's interesting. I want to ask y'all: do you think something like that can work in real life? You know, um, do y'all think that we could police ourselves without the police department? Um, I think it could work to a certain extent. You know, um, at some point, I think you will need real investigators. I think you could have people go out there and break up certain situations, but for something like a missing child, you're gonna need an investigator that have some experience, most likely. Even though there's plenty of missing children right now without the resources, but I think it's an interesting concept. If you have enough people that's willing to put in the work, maybe it could work. Um, in reality, I'm not sure, but that's interesting. What do y'all think? Y'all tell me. So, moving on for Trig, we have Emmett, and Emmett told Tiff about him and Dom, which I don't understand. My thing is, all right, should Emmett told Tiffany? I think no. If everything was going okay, um, why would you tell her? What did he actually expect her reaction to be? Did he expect her just to be like, all right, that's cool when y'all actually married now? He should have just kept that to himself. Really. Um, is their whole situation is see like they take one step forward, they take like 15 steps back, right? That's their whole relationship. So now she messed with one of her clients, um, and she talking about an open relationship, which I'm not here to judge how anybody have anybody live their personal lives or whatever. Speaking of that, I'm going to backtrack real quick with Trig and Amani, right? With Jason Weaver's character, this is what I forgot to mention because I do want to mention this real quick. His homie that took a bid for him is now living there. She's not feeling it, and they some one of their homies that I guess they knew came in, and I guess I don't know if he's pipping this girl or what, but she's a forced sex worker. And Amani is making a big deal out of it, which she should. I if a person volunteers and choose to do sex work, you know, I don't have a problem with it. Again, everybody should be free to live their life however they want to live, but if it's forced, of course, that's different, and that's something that need to be talked about more often. Sex trafficking is a huge issue. Sometimes it's happening right under our noses, and we don't know. So we always have to be on the lookout for trafficking and women being forced into sex labor against their will. That's a big deal. So I'm glad she's speaking up about that. However, um, she wants Trig to get involved. The only way he can stop it is through violence, because if he goes to do and just be like, oh, please just stop. It's not like homie gonna be like, you know what, you make a good point, I'm gonna stop. That's not gonna happen. So either they gonna move away, just stay away from y'all, or there's gonna be violence one way or the other, which is a tough situation. So what do y'all think Trig should do there as well? That's another question I want to ask y'all. So um but the thing is, Jason Weaver character, right? when old boy that's pimping or doing whatever told him that Amani is a trans, but not in those words. He seemed so surprised, which I was surprised that he was surprised. Ever since she was on last season, the first time I've seen her, I knew right away. I was like, oh yeah, that's a trans. I mean, no disrespect, but she doesn't look like a biological woman, in my opinion. I think it's obvious that she's trans, you know. And again, no disrespect, it just is what it is. Like, to me, it's quite obvious. So, in this situation, I really don't know how homie was fooled or how he didn't know that was a trans. Like, y'all let me know. Am I bugging? I'm shocked that he's shocked. I think it's pretty obvious, but it is what it is. I'm off that. So back into personal relationships. So Tiff want an open relationship now. Again, people are free to live their lives however they want to live them, but in their specific situation, even though I don't have a problem with people being in an open relationship, I don't think it's going to work in their case. I think for an open relationship, you need to go into the relationship with that understanding. I think the only reason Tiff won an open relationship now is because she heard that Emmett cheated on her multiple times, right? And it doesn't seem like Emmett necessarily wanted this open relationship either. I'm sure he'd be cool with being with other chicks, but I don't know how cool he is with a dude piping down Tiff all the time. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's something he particularly cares for at this time. So I I don't think, yeah, I don't think that it's gonna work. I think they doing it just because right now they both hurt. And that's not a reason to go into an open relationship. You need to go into an open relationship if y'all need to make sure that's something y'all really want to do, not just because y'all hurt. You know, but that's just my opinion on that. What y'all think? Y'all let me know. Again, in conclusion, this season so far has been cool. It's been a lot better than last season. Still not giving me that spark from season 1 and 2. Maybe just because I was so invested in Brandon as a character. But that's me. How y'all feeling about this season so far? Let me know. Hi. So, random Q watch. The premise of the show, right, is to take. We all have all these streaming service. Amazon, Netflix. You got Disney Plus now, Hulu, etc., etc. There's so much stuff in our queues and on our list we don't know. So I'm just going by it. I'm just going through them and just clicking. I don't even know too much about them and giving my opinion. First, I tried to watch Underground Railroad on Amazon. And this goes back to the discussion that me and Miss Baba had. Check that discussion out. It was real interesting about them. I watched the first episode. I don't know if I could continue on, and I'm a big history buff, but sometimes just seeing us get brutalized over and over again is not appealing. And I get it. Slavery was harsh. It was demonic. It was just evil, and you need to show so people could get the gravity of it. But I think we've just seen it so many times, and for me, I actually read historical books, and me just reading about these situations, I know. So for me personally, I don't gotta keep seeing these things over and over and over again. So it was a tough watch. Also, the two main characters are non-Black Americans. Now, I'm not one of those people that's mad when, somebody that British, or in this case, they're one of the main actors is from South Africa in Underground Railroad. I'm not mad if they do a good job in the role. It is what it is. But when it comes to movies like this, when you have black historical figures, I think a lot of times when they not a black American, they missing some context, and sometimes it don't come across as good as it should, right? Their accents was kind of poor in it. Like I didn't even know they were foreign actors before I watched the series, but when they started talking more, I was like, I bet you they not American, just because the way they was talking, it was over exaggerated. The slave dialect was over exaggerated. I'm just like, I didn't even like the way they was running. They was running kind of. I don't know. It was tough for me to get through the first episode. I don't know if I'm going to continue. So, in my opinion, for Underground Railroad on Amazon, to me, that's a skip. You know, that's a skip, like She Had a Sharp says all the time. That's my opinion. But you could check it out if you want to, but again, we all busy. In my opinion, you can skip that. That's in your queue. Now, the Netflix, All the Girls, right? Now, this was a interesting movie. This is something that you should watch, in my opinion. It's based in South Africa, right? And it starts off say that was inspired by true events, and they mention somebody named Gert D. Jagger. And basically, he was a government official during the apartheid regime. And he kidnapped and killed 6 girls, but it was more than that. And apparently, he wasn't the one that actually killed them. He kidnapped them and he gave them to a high-ranking politician in the apartheid regime, and they was sexually assaulting and murdering these little girls. But apparently, the black little girls that was captured wasn't getting reported. The media focused on the 6 white girls that were captured. Now, I looked it up because I was curious. I was like, oh, this is inspired by true events. So I tried to look up Gert D. Jagger, but I couldn't find any information on that person. But what I did find, and I guess um, who they based this or this was inspired by, was a serial killer slash pedophile in South Africa. Hopefully, I don't butcher the name. Name was Gert Van Rooyen. I never heard of him before this, so I looked him up, and he did captured and killed 6 children in between, I think, 88 and 89 during apartheid South Africa. And yeah, so I think they was basing this off of that serial killer slash pedophile. Now, the movie itself is really good. I'm not going to get into too many spoilers, but if you like it, I would just say this. You know how I said I didn't like Underground Railroad, how I didn't like them because of certain images. I do like this movie because although what they're talking about is tough, um, it's a very serious topic, but there is gratification in it. There is a payoff. I felt like in them, the payoff wasn't worth it. The first episode, Underground Railroad, there's no payoff in watching it at all. It just seeing black people get tortured, which I could do without. Now, all the girls, they have a character on there that's kind of like a a South African Punisher. If you watch Marvel, Punisher, or read comics books, she was on her Punisher stuff right there. She was. Yeah, I'm not gonna get too much in this because this is gonna be a non-spoiler, but she was getting at folks. It was entertaining to watch. I like it. Definitely check it out. Like I said, discussing a serious subject, which it needs to be discussed. but they did it in a way where it was entertaining and there was payoff with it. So check that out. Definitely, I definitely recommend that. That's a go right there. So before I get out of here, I just want to discuss Loki. I'm a huge comic fan. I'm a huge Marvel fan. So Loki's going to be the third of these Marvel shows. We already had WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So now it's Loki. And, I'm definitely looking forward to what kind of show that's coming out. Okoye is going to get her own show, which is dope. I'm looking forward to that. But before that, we got Loki. And I'm looking forward to it. Loki is a pretty popular character. Um, and I'm going to get more into this in comics and consciousness. But this should be a really dope show. I think it's going to deal a lot with magic. More is going to be more, not quite like WandaVision, because WandaVision was very different, but it should deal more with magic, but more on a universal level than WandaVision did. Falcon Winter Soldier was basically focused on the U.S. So I think now with Loki, this is where we're going to get to universal level threats and magic. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm definitely going to be reviewing that series. But for now, that's all I have for y'all. Make sure you tune in, subscribe, share, and we definitely try to grow. And if I say so myself, it's pretty good content. I do say so myself. But yeah, thanks. I appreciate everybody. Peace.